Welcome everybody, Entourage. What is going on? If you're new to the channel, a special welcome to you. Thanks for stopping by. If you like what you see, make sure you give it a thumbs up, a sub, and turn on that bell for notifications. Today we're going to be doing another rankings list, this time for the quarterbacks. I know you guys love rankings. I know there's been a lot of controversy with the other ranking videos I have on running backs and receivers, and I expect this one to be no different. Well, guys, let's get into it. Well, the first guy on our list is really no surprise. It's Patrick Mahomes. He only had a record-breaking season last year, and his weapons have only gotten better, if that's even possible. You got Tyreek, obviously. You got Kelsey, the best tight end in the league. Now you just added a secret weapon like Darwin Thompson. You just signed Shady McCoy. You drafted a Tyreek clone and Mecole Hardman. How is anybody gonna stop this offense? I've been hearing he's got a tough schedule. Who cares, bro? Mahomes is one of those quarterbacks he could buy time. And guys, speed kills. And this Kansas City team, look at the speed and the quickness between Hill, Mecole Hardman, Damian Williams. Shady still got, a little bit left in those Jets to take it to the house himself. So this offense, simply put, it's going to be unstoppable. Mahomes, a year older. He's probably a year better. He's that type of guy that looks committed to the game of football. So I expect him. He had the best fantasy league or the best fantasy season ever for a quarterback last year. So it's going to be hard to top that. But I do think he could still, flirt with 50 touchdowns, maybe 48, 5,000 yards. I still believe all of that is in play as long as he and the majority of his offensive weapons stay healthy. We know Sammy Watkins is going to go down any minute now. But, as long as it doesn't get too crazy, I don't see why Patrick Mahomes cannot have a repeat of what we saw last year. My second quarterback on the list, it is DeShaun Watson. Now, DeShaun Watson is the only quarterback I believe capable of dethroning Mahomes. Not that it will happen, but he's the only one that I think is capable of, because he is just as good a thrower as Mahomes. He has close to as good of weapons as Mahomes, and he's got the X factor, the legs. DeShaun McCoy, he is amazing. I think I was used to saying LeSean in the last quarterback, but anyway, DeShaun Watson, sheesh, has that X factor with his legs. He's really, really hard to take down in the open field. So I think he's the one quarterback that can push Mahomes. In 2017, he led the league in points per game. So we know his upside. And the reason why I believe he is the one quarterback that could dethrone Mahomes is he finally has an offensive line, or at least a left tackle. They just got Larry Tunsil from the Dolphins. They gave up an arm and a leg, but you know what? It was worth it. We learned our lesson. We saw what happened to Andrew Luck. His career cut short because of all those injuries and hits he took when the Colts didn't have an offensive line all those years. So, you got to protect your franchise quarterback at all costs. And before I was hesitant to draft DeShaun Watson, but now that he's got an offensive line, he's somebody that I would target in trades. Obviously, most of you drafted already, so you missed out on that window of opportunity, or, kudos to the ones that did not. But he was slipping in drafts because this quarterback class is just so deep. So anyway, DeShaun Watson is my number 2 quarterback. Number 3 quarterback, another kind of comeback story, if you want to consider DeShaun Watson a comeback story. He was top 5 last year, but I think a lot of people expected him to be even higher. Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has been the number 1 fantasy quarterback for several years, and even in a down year, even playing on one leg with limited weapons, with a stale play caller like Mark McCarthy, he still finished 6th in fantasy. That says a lot, guys. Well, guess what? Aaron Jones is coming back. He's going to be a big part of that offense under Matt LaFleur, especially as a pass catcher. MVS is a year older. Devontae Adams is Devontae Adams. They have Jimmy Graham and the rookie they They drafted Jay Sternberg or something like that. I forget his name. Jay Steinberg, maybe. Anyway, he looks pretty good. They could line 2 tight ends up. They could line MVS and Adams on the outside. Both of them can also play the slot. And now they have Geronimo Allison playing the slot as the starter. So they have so much flexibility on how they can line up their weapons. All types of different formations. Like I mentioned, they could do 2 tight end sets. They could go, empty backfield and just, load up on receivers, which LaFleur likes to do sometimes. Go 4 wide receiver sets. So he's a much more innovative play caller. So I absolutely love the Packers offense. I think Rodgers is going to be focused. I think he is going to have a huge MVP-like season, and he's secure. You can't go wrong with Aaron Rodgers. So at number 3, got to go with A-Rod. Number 4, Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz in 2017 would have been the MVP if he did not get hurt late in the season. He wasn't quite himself last season, and even then, though, he was still QB1 before he got injured. So, and that was, only looking like a shell of himself. He has let go of the knee brace. He feels good. Everything is pointing upwards for him. He just signed a new contract. He himself has weapons. Those 2 tight ends are going to have monster seasons. I'm talking about Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. You got DeShaun Watson, who could take the top off defenses. Alshon Jeffrey's still solid. And I love the kid they drafted, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. So Wentz is going to have weapons, and he's a very underrated scrambler himself. He could pick up some yards with his feet. I don't think they're going to have him do that a ton, but he is capable, maybe sneaking in a few rushing touchdowns there because he is a tremendous athlete. So, again, talent over everything, and there's very few quarterbacks in this league that have the type of talent that Carson Wentz has in the perfect system under Doug Peterson calling the plays. All right. Number 5, this is going to shock some people. It really is. Jameis Winston. Yeah. Jameis Winston was top 15 in points per game last season, and he had an absolutely abysmal year. Now, Jameis Winston's the type of guy that, he'll throw like 2 or 3 picks in a game, but then he'll also throw 300 yards and add in another 2 or 3 touchdowns. So he always throws for a lot of yards. And that Bucs defense, let's face it, it's nothing to brag home about. Now you got him under Bruce Arians. He's got weapons galore. He's got, obviously, Mike Evans. Chris Godwin is one of my favorite receivers this year. You got another team with 2 tight ends. O.J. Howard, one of the best athletic tight ends we've ever seen play the game. Cameron Brate is no slouch himself, but the main reason, like I said, is Bruce Arians. He will not tolerate turnovers. Jameis Winston will not be able to get away with those, reckless throws that he used to make under, what's this guy's name, Dirk Koetter. So I do think Winston's going to clean some of that stuff up. They're going to be playing from behind. They're going to throw a ton. You saw what Bruce Arians did with Carson Palmer. He was another quarterback who everybody thought was dead in the water after, kind of flaming out in Cincinnati and, throwing an egg in Oakland. Everybody thought the Arizona Cardinals, were just fishing for a miracle. And then he turned Carson Palmer into an MVP candidate. I think he could do the same for Winston. So Winston, and most of you guys that got Winston, some leagues, he's even on waivers. If he is, pick him up and thank me later because Winston is my top 5. Number 6, a lot of people hiring this guy, and I can see why. Baker, touchdown maker, as my friend Smitty likes to say. I love Baker Mayfield this season. He has weapons galore, another one with OBJ, Landry, David Njoku. You got Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt if he ever ends up playing. So he's got weapons galore, broke the rookie record for passing touchdowns, and he's in a good offense for him. It seems like him and Freddie Kitchens have a good connection. We saw that, and he did something that very few rookies do. He was fantasy relevant as a rookie, averaging over 17 points per game. So Baker Mayfield in that offense with his talent, another example of talent over everything. I like Baker Mayfield's talent more than I do Matt Ryan, who, in the past, with the exception of last year, has let us down in some big games. He is he is my number 8. I forgot. The next guy, coincidentally, is from the same alma mater as Baker Mayfield, and I believe he has just as much upside as anybody in the league. I'm talking about Kyler Murray. Yep, rookie Kyler Murray. This day and age, I gave the example of Baker Mayfield being an effective fantasy player as a rookie. Now, while it is rare, it's a lot more common these days to have a fantasy relevant rookie. Because now a lot of these players are playing in pro-style systems. Actually, Kyler Murray is going to be going into a system that he's familiar with Cliff Kingsbury, a system that's suited for him because he's going to have the ball in probably close to 75% of the team's plays. The air raid offense has been known to air it out. It's been known to pass the ball between 65 and 70% of the time. And then if you add in the times that, Murray's going to be involved with the zone blocking scheme and doing a play option, and plus the running plays that the designed running plays for him, he's going to have the ball and he's going to be like 75% of that team's offense, which is a lot. From a pure numbers standpoint, that's nothing to overlook, especially when we've seen quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen absolutely give us nothing or close to nothing in the passing game and be, top quarterbacks, at least for weeks at a time, just based on their legs alone. Well, Murray can do everything they can from a running standpoint and is a much better pure passer. So I absolutely love Murray this year. Upside through the roof. A little bit of a concern if they do run him a little, if they do run him a lot because he's so small. So I don't want him, getting subject to those hits. But as far as pure talent and upside, he has just as much as anyone because of him being a dual threat and being, having the possibility of being elite in both areas. All right. Matt Ryan. So Matt Ryan, he was the number 2 quarterback of last season. I have him a lot lower than most. I know everybody's thinking he's got like 13 games in a dome. Dirk Koetter's back to being the offensive coordinator, but I got to stay true to myself. And I always believe talent over everything. And the quarterbacks, the 7 quarterbacks that I mentioned to you guys, are more talented than Matt Ryan. I still remember that guy that let me down in big games. So it's hard for me to clear my head from that picture. I feel like I can rely on the other guys a lot more when the going gets tough. Even Murray as a rookie, he has such a high floor because of his legs, because they're going to be playing from behind, because he's going to have the ball in almost 75% of the time and account for, and have his hand in about 75% of the team's points. So I like that more than I do having to rely on a player. Now, don't get me wrong. Matt Ryan is ultra productive as a fantasy quarterback, but he's also been so. He has a lot of things going for him. Weapons galore. You got Julio, but I do worry about his injuries, especially that right foot. We haven't seen him play yet. It was nagging him as late as June, July, and, it started dating back last year. In December is when I saw it come up on the injury report, and that's to his surgically repaired foot. Something happens to Julio, the offense is completely different. However, they still have weapons. They still have Ridley. They still have Sanu. They still have Devontae Freeman, although he has, he's also been known to be injury prone. So there is a little bit of question marks. I know I'm kind of, foreseeing the future or whatever the case may be. As it stands on paper, they look magnificent. Everything's lining up for Matt Ryan to be a big year. But again, I got to stay true to myself. Talent over anything. But if all things are equal and Matt Ryan's weapons are all there for the whole season, like I said, Dirk Koetter's back, he can once again finish in that top 5. Next one, another one that's gonna send some shockwaves. But my number 9 quarterback is Josh Allen. And why not? He was only the number 1 quarterback from weeks 12 to 17 because, again, having a quarterback that can run the football is like a cheat code. It really is. You're able to rack up so many points a lot faster because think about it. For every 10 rushing yards, it's a point. You have to pass for 25 to get that same point, or 20, depending on the league. So I think Josh Allen this year is going to keep on maturing as a passer. He doesn't have elite weapons, but he has better weapons. They did bring in John Brown and Cole Beasley, Zay Jones, and Robert Foster are okay. But more importantly, they bring in 5 new offensive linemen. So I think the upgrade on the offensive line, I also think rookie Devin Singletary will help open things up. He has looked good in preseason, especially as a pass catcher. So I think the Buffalo Bills will be able to move the football. Plus, like I mentioned to you, the X factor of Josh Allen and his legs. So he's one of those guys unlike Lamar Jackson, who just doesn't look like he's going to get it as a passer. Josh Allen has shown some flashes of brilliance, especially on the deep ball, even as a rookie, despite not having an offensive line or really any playmakers. So I do think he's going to be better as a a thrower, pure thrower, even though I think he'll have games where he looks, bad and stuff. But I do think there's hope for him. Lamar Jackson, I'm starting to get a little worried that he might not be, a real quarterback. He's going to be more like that Michael Vick, Colin Kaepernick. I don't think he'll ever be like a Russell Wilson. Now, last but not least, another controversial one, Sam Darnold. Yeah, Sam Darnold, you see, I don't know, guys. I have this feeling, and for those that call me crazy, this guy was going to be the number 1 pick. He ended up being the number 3 pick. He was the youngest, starting quarterback ever. The kid has got talent, guys. The kid has a lot of talent, and he has a lot of underrated weapons that people are sleeping on, because that's the one thing. They're like, they just have nobody. No, they have Robbie Anderson, who unfortunately was misused last year, but he's going to show you the type of receiver he is. I am a little concerned about the calf injury, but, if that's not anything serious, it looks like he's going to suit up for week 1. I think Robbie Anderson has wide receiver 1 upside, and he has a quarterback that could take advantage of that. He also has Jamison Crowder and Nanwa. You got Chris Herndon once he gets back from his suspension. Of course, the prize free agent Le'Veon Bell. The kid is very smart. He looked very poised, very comfortable in Adam Gase's offense in the preseason. And Adam Gase is such an underrated play caller. Remember, guys, he was the offensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos when they broke the record for the highest scoring team ever. And Peyton Manning broke the touchdowns, or broke the record for the most passing touchdowns in a season. So that's the guy that's calling the plays for the Jets. And I see a similar, ascension similar to the way we saw Carson Wentz. He showed flashes, didn't do anything crazy, didn't have a Baker type year his rookie year, but in 2017 was the leading MVP candidate. I do think Sam Darnold has similar upside. I even think their games are a little similar. I think Sam Darnold's also an underrated athlete who could scramble, move in the pocket. Not, a running quarterback like Lamar Jackson, but another guy who was like that, Andrew Luck when he was in his earlier years, Aaron Rodgers, that they're not necessarily running quarterbacks, but they are good scramblers. They could get you extra yards and pick up that first down when needed, but they prefer to throw the football. So I absolutely love Sam Darnold, love the system he's in. I think Adam Gase is perfect for him, and I would ride with Darnold over some of these other quarterbacks because I think it's a passing offense. It's going to be a high-scoring, volume-based offense where they're going to throw 35 to 40 passes, or at least over 30. Obviously, 40 would be in the high range, but between 30 and 35 passes. So that's going to give him plenty of opportunities to score. When talent meets opportunity is when I really like to invest in my players, and I think he has a safer floor than guys that I was considering in this list, like a Mitch Trubisky or Lamar Jackson or even Cam Newton, who is brilliant at times, but he's got the shoulder, and he also tends to throw an egg against the better defenses in the league. Well, guys, there you have it. My top 10 quarterbacks for the 2019 season. As always, guys, if you have any questions, comment down below and let me know who you guys like as your top 10. I know a lot of you guys are going to disagree with me. Some of you guys might think, Mitch Trubisky or Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, Drew Brees is another one, Russell Wilson. I get it. This was the hardest rankings I had to do, but I got to go with what I feel and what I see. And as always, guys, talent over everything. Peace.